The Indiana Pacers forced Game 7 by winning Game 6. On today's episode, me and Swipe are going to discuss what the Pacers or the Thunder need to do to come away with a victory and an NBA title in Game 7. We'll talk a little bit about that, plus the Ace Bailey drama going on and how Katie holds the keys to not only the draft, but the NBA offseason, at least to start. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On NBA Game Night, where it's every team, every game, every night. And while there's not a game tonight, me and Swiper do have you covered today for everything going on around the NBA leading into Game 7. Swiper, thank you for joining me, man. How you feeling about from the fallout from Game 6 going into Game 7? How you feeling about all that?
Honestly, I think my first comment is that this season from the Indiana Pacers is one for the record books. And I think many of us fans that have been plugged into the NBA season this year, we're going to remember this Pacers team very fondly. Haize, and you and I talked a lot about this going into the playoffs, really even months into before the end of the year, who are going to be our favorites to make it out. I think we had our picks. We said the Thunder have a chance, that the Nuggets have a chance, that the Wolves had a chance. Warriors even had a run there with Jimmy Butler got to the team. I think they went like 18-2 or something like that. The Clippers, they went dynamite with Kawhi Leonard down the stretch of the year. We talked about the Boston Celtics repeating, the Cleveland Cavaliers won 64-plus games this last season. We even talked about the New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Can they turn it on at the right time? Surely the Milwaukee Bucks. Surely they have an opportunity to do something special. And then the Pacers, who I think we were high on and great regular season showing, but for them to be able to put together this kind of season where they're potentially, per Carson from Nerd Sesh, looking to be the first team ever to knock off two 64-plus win teams, Haize, and to have the largest win differential between an NBA Finals winner and their opponent with an 18-game difference in the amount of games won between them and OKC. That would be the most games that a team's ever been ahead for them to win a series. The Pacers are on pace to have, I think, one of the two best title runs since 2000 with them and the Dallas Mavericks. And the Dallas run was in large due to the narratives around that team after 2007 when they got smoked in the first round. Dirk Nowitzki obviously wins MVP, has to come back, win it. This didn't have any of that kind of lore to it. But for them to be in a situation where you get game winners, Aaron Nesmith, fourth quarter, 20 points. Tyrese Haliburton, go-ahead shots in game one of this series, a go-ahead shot in the Knicks series, a go-ahead shot in the Cavs series, a go-ahead shot in the Bucks series where he drives by Giannis to put the series away. Haize, this has been one of one. And I think for me, the person that I'm most impressed with in all this, and I'm impressed with a lot of players on this run, Rick Carlisle has put together one of the best coaching jobs I have ever witnessed from top to bottom. He has gotten Tony Bradley good playoff minutes. He's gotten Thomas Bryant good playoff minutes. Obi Toppin is currently doing something off the bench we have quite literally never seen before in an NBA Finals. TJ McConnell looks like he might be the best point guard on the floor with Hallie and Shea out there at times. You're getting great production from Aaron Nesmith. Miles Turner hasn't even been great this series, and they're still finding ways to be able to make things shake and make things work. Benny had some of the best moments and the worst moments in this series, and you're just continuing to plug away. And then you get Pascal Siakam, who's an all-NBA player, who's having maybe his third best regular season of his career this year, but then he comes back with an even better playoff run to me than in 2019 with the Toronto Raptors. And then you get Tyrese Haliburton dealing with injuries, and even through that, he's pushing and trying to make things come alive for his team all the way up and down. I think that this has been a spectacular season by the Indiana Pacers. And should they be able to close out this story, this ain't a Cinderella story. This would just be the story of a team that was great from January on, and they took down one of the best teams in NBA history and at least pushed it to 7. And we all got a chance to witness this. So the Indiana Pacers fans, you should be remarkably proud. You should feel confident going into Game 7. This has literally been one of the best stories of the NBA in the last several years.
It absolutely has. And I love that you pointed out Rick Carlisle, because Rick Carlisle, to me, has been the best coach throughout this playoff series. The way that he's adjusted, the way that he's had his team prepared, everything. He makes a little micro adjustments that I think sometimes like you don't notice unless you go look at like Game 2 and then come back to Game 5. Like he makes little adjustments over time to like everything that the Thunder do. Now, not all of them work or are successful, because Mike Dangold's a really damn good coach too himself who makes adjustments, but Rick Carlisle has just done such an amazing job coaching this team. And I think I said it when we were talking about the series before it started. Like Rick Carlisle, in a lot of ways, was the X factor coming into the series. That's how much coaching matters. He has the experience. He's won a title before. He coached that Dallas Mavericks team that upset the Heat. So, like, he's been in a situation similar to this. And the way that just the little like micro battles within each game, how they runs each game, that has made this series so special. And it was like, people to talk about this series like this was going to be a boring series. I love that this is one of the first Game 7s that we've gotten in a while, because this really has been a battle of X's and O's, a battle of styles, a battle of all of that. Now, going into Game 7, I think one of the biggest things in this game is that, can the Pacers turn the Thunder into a half-court team? The Pacers are the better half-court team. They just are. If they can force the Thunder to have to play in the half-court, that could be a huge determining factor in this game. We saw them limit the turnovers. Pacers only had 10 turnovers in Game 6. That was down from, I think, the 22 they had in Game 5. Like, that's going to be a key to this thing as well. Can you limit turnovers? Can you force the Thunder to be a half-court team? If you can, that's like puts the Pacers in the best situation. The Pacers are what makes the Pacers so dangerous is that they're so good at taking whatever the opposing team gives them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that, and they're fine living in that place until the team has to adjust, and then they go back to what they do well. That's something to really watch out for in Game 7. I'll tell you what, I get it. A lot of people are going to still pick the Thunder. They're at home. They should. Thunder were an amazing regular season team, but you cannot count this Pacers team out, because they have shown, you put it in, it's now just a one-game series. The Pacers have just as good of a chance to win this game.
Wow, a one-game series with the title on the line, and you got the MVP on one side. You got 2 All-NBA players on OKC. You got a bunch of defenders. You got 2 All-NBA players on the Pacers side. And you got all the confidence in the world. Haize, we really could come away with an Indiana Pacers title. Well, either way, you're going to have a first-time champion. The OKC Thunder are going to win the championship, and they were projected to do so all year. And then obviously on the other end, you get the Indiana Pacers, man, the Reggie Miller days of old when they were making the NBA Finals. This is just such a beautiful story. And one of the things I love the most about this is Alex Caruso gets dumped to the Chicago Bulls because they thought he was too expensive, and he's helping them to potentially win a title. Pascal Siakam, you get players like Andrew Nembhard, who fell to the second round, Tyrese Haliburton, who gets traded away for Domantas Sabonis from the Sacramento Kings. You get players up and down the roster. And Aaron Nesmith was just a regular throw-in player for the Boston Celtics. And now they're all, with all different stories, they're all competing for a title, and they're contributing at the highest level. And TJ McConnell, man, I mean, you just watch this dude play. He is literally doing everything right to win every possession for his team with that little mid-range shot he has, the defensive intensity, the playmaking, the driving. This is just honestly such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful series. And I just think, man, that this Game 7 is about to be historic. We haven't gotten one since 2016 in the NBA Finals, and we all remember blocked by James. Yep. That's going to be, I don't know if we're going to get one of those moments, but this is going to be a special, special game, man. I honestly cannot wait to see it.
Before we get out of this segment, Swiper, do you want to make an official prediction who you got winning Game 7?
Well, look, I already said, I honestly thought that SGA and them were winning Game 6. So I already congratulated SGA for the Finals MVP. So I got to roll out with I already got to roll out with it. Like, I got to ride with the Thunder and say that the Thunder are going to win the series in 7. SGA is going to be Finals MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, League MVP, and scoring champion all in 1 year. It's going to take a masterclass from him and J-Dub especially, but I'm going to roll with them. But I'm not going to lie to you. If my heart was in this, my heart wants the Pacers to get it done just simply because the story, I mean, there would just be nothing like it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I want to pick the Pacers too, because it's just such a good story. Same season, Tyrese Haliburton, everything that he did, all the game winners that he hit in each one of the rounds. After being voted the most overrated player, it's just such a great story. The choking moment in New York, it would be such an amazing story if the Pacers are able to win the finals here. But I think the Thunder at home, and I think they're going to be ready and locked in, and it's going to be a big uphill battle. So for the business of it all, I'm picking the Thunder, but I would love to be sitting here talking about the Pacers winning an NBA title when it's all said and done.
Yeah, facts, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Can't wait.
It'll be a great game. But all right, next up, we're gonna be talking about the KD trade saga and how he may hold the keys to a lot of dominoes starting to fall in both on draft day and in free agency. We're gonna talk about that, but first, got to get into a message from CarGurus. Shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting. But with the confusing prices and hidden fees, the process can feel overwhelming. That's why I trust CarGurus. They cut through the noise and help you find the best deals with confidence. CarGurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S. with over 4 million listings. They verify dealers, analyze real prices, and give you the data you need to make smart, pressure-free decisions. Need a deal you can trust? CarGurus lets you compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. My favorite feature is the price drop alerts. So you know exactly when the perfect car hits your budget. Plus, the detailed vehicle info gives you peace of mind before you even set foot on the lot. It's no wonder similar web data shows CarGurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today at CarGurus.com. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com. We're locked on NBA game night coming up next. All right, Swiper. So coming off the NBA Finals, Kevin Durant has been the talk of everything falling. Many people thought he'd be the first domino to fall. That ends up going to Desmond Bane. But there's a lot of talk about where KD is going to go. Reportedly, the Minnesota Timberwolves have a package that the Suns are interested in. KD doesn't want to go there. Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves are not going to try to convince him to go there. Then you have teams like the Rockets, the Spurs, the Miami Heat that seemingly are putting reasonable offers together for KD, but not crazy offers. And the Suns are a little bit underwhelmed, reportedly, by what they're getting out here. Personally, Swiper, I'll go ahead and start this off. Once Miami got into the fray, looking at the assets they have, if I'm any other team around, like especially if it's the Spurs and Rockets, I can easily match what they can give. But I'm not putting together a crazy package full of a bunch of young players or a bunch of picks when I know the Miami Heat only have so much that they can offer. How do you view this trade market for KD? I think the Miami Heat being a team that he's interested in going to automatically brings that value down a little bit. But how do you feel?
So this is just another, I've talked to Kevin before. I think he's obviously a really intelligent basketball player, one of the best ever. Kevin has a different viewpoint about how he sees basketball and how he sees himself. I don't know why you would want to go to Miami other than the income tax stuff, which I don't think they would be competing for anything. Then the Miami deal seems to be centered around Wiggins. Around Andrew Wiggins and around like some role players for the roster, maybe Duncan Robinson, a first this year in the draft. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kevin Durant, Davion Mitchell. Like, I think that's a good playoff team, maybe. But like, I don't think they're beating the Pacers or the Knicks. They would even struggle to beat next year's Boston with just JB, I think, depending on who they bring back.
I agree.
And let alone Cleveland. Shoot. The Bulls. Josh Giddey and them. Who knows? Like, you know what I mean? No idea. Like the Atlanta Hawks with Jalen Johnson back. I just don't understand the methodology behind that. But I will say, Kevin Durant is 37 years old, y'all. Like, this is he'll be 37 going into next year, then 38 after that. So then you're going to give him a 3 or 4 year extension where he can be playing into his 40s, and he'll still be he's so good, Haize. He might be a 25 points per game scorer and crazy efficiency by that point.
Yeah,
and a good defender, mind you, at that. But also too is like you're not getting a whole bunch of games played for Kevin Durant. And because he's not a part of your long-term future, he's a part of your immediate future. Teams are questioning, okay, I'm not sending out a bunch of young assets for him when I know I'm going to have to revamp after him. And this might be his last real stop that he has at this point in time in his career. So honestly, Haize, I just think that teams are just, it sounds like what I heard is that their teams are waiting out this kind of little lull period, and they're going to see how much the price can drop on Kevin Durant before they make any decisions moving forward. But that's what I would do. I mean, even the purported deal that came from the Spurs with Harrison Barnes and Devin Vassell, like, I think that's a worthy deal because Devin Vassell's an asset you want to get back. But for somebody of Kevin Durant's caliber, you would just expect that there'll be a little bit more out there for him. But again, the injuries, plus the fact that you don't know how long he's going to be playing, plus the fact that it's the age, and you still want to be able to build for the future, I think teams are hesitant to put a lot into the deal. And I think on the Wolves side, they're apparently waiting for a real commitment from Kevin that if they do trade for him, he'll want to be there, stay there, and grow there. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like he's given them any of that. So we'll find out here soon, man. But I think there are basketball situations that are better for Kevin than going to those teams. But I think in his mind, these are just places he's more comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, I think Houston gets him the closest to competing for a title. I think he's exactly what they need, and it gives them kind of a clear timeline to have Amin Thompson ready to take over the reins as that team's best player. But I think they need somebody who can score in isolation, somebody who can score outside the flow of the offense. I think they need that. But then again, I can also understand why give up a bunch of your young assets to go in while you have players developing in the wing that you feel can get you there as well. So we'll see what happens there. But I look at this situation and I'm just like, Kevin Durant, from what I read, Windhorst said that one of the reasons he wants to go to Miami is because of Pat Riley. And while I understand that Pat Riley's going to be aggressive, he's going to try to do what needs to be done to improve his team. You're still looking at that, like, how much are you really opening up a championship window if you go to Miami? Maybe he feels more confident in that. If he does, great. It's going to be real interesting. The Spurs are the one that I get it that KD wants to go there. I can even get why they'd be enticed a little bit, but I don't think that they need to be putting too much of their young talent on the board to trade for KD, because like they're another team that, like, you're a Wemby ascension away. You got the number 2 pick in this draft. Like you're right there potentially in 2 or 3 years getting there more organically. So we'll see what happens. Do you think this happens before the draft though? That's been kind of the common talk, is that they want to get this done before the draft. We're coming up to the wire here, 5 days into the NBA draft. Do you think it happens?
Yeah, I think it should. I think especially if you're trying to maximize the assets you're giving out, getting this year's first round pick, which, granted too, there's a lot of really deep players, even into the late lottery, into even the early teens, late teens, and I even think getting into the early 20s. There's some good players that can be good rotational players by year 1, year 2. So I think you do want to get everything finalized before then. That way you can get as many assets as possible. But also, if you're one of those teams that's trading for Kevin Durant, I would much rather trade my first round this year than the next year. I just want to know exactly where the draft pick is going to be. That way I can kind of just go ahead and close it out and deal with that and move forward. So I do think so. I also agree with you, but I think between the Spurs and the Rockets, though, I would rather KD go to the Spurs. And you're just talking about winning the title. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, Kevin Durant, plus they get Dylan Harper. This year you got him coming off the bench. Obviously, you're going to have Stephon Castle as well. Jeremy Sohan's not going to be in the deal. So he's going to be there. They're going to have so many players and so many assets. I think they're actually going to be a really tough team to beat. I do think he would present a lot of value for the Rockets, but I still think they would have a lot of limitations. I wouldn't love him as much in that situation, but who knows? Either one of them, I think he makes them a lot better, but I don't know if he puts them necessarily in title contention either.
The Suns reportedly want to still they're valuing more win now players than draft picks. They want to still build something around Devin Booker that they feel like they can still be a playoff team and compete. Do you think that from what the teams that are interested, do you see the Suns being able to compete for a playoff spot next year with the reported packages that are around KD?
Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Bradley Beal, sure. I mean, but not anything worth the value, like unless you're getting like Devin Booker slept on thing this year. He played 75 games, 26, 4-7 this year. Like, he played a lot of basketball, but I don't think they're good enough on their bench. I don't think they have enough top end talent. And also with their coaching, maybe they figure that out. And this year they can have a solidified coaching staff, having the fourth different coach in a 4th different year. But I just don't know if in the Western Conference, because again, it's not just about talent, it's about camaraderie, it's about culture, it's about fit. Do you know your identity? And I think the Suns, even if they get something back in the trade, I don't know if they would have enough around them to be able to really seriously compete in the West. But also on top of this, too, the reading is Devin Booker. Devin Booker's 27 years old. And so I think that's really the biggest thing is Booker wants to be there, or he's 28 actually now. If Booker wants to be there, they want to make sure he has a team around him that can compete. Can I imagine that's a stipulation he's put in place? But even still, man, like they're not trading Booker until Booker asks. But even for Booker, man, I just don't love the situation that he's in long term either.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I like Booker a lot. I like Devin Booker as a player. I want to see the best for him, of course. And I commend the Suns for not wanting to go all and finding a way to win. I always want to give teams credit for still trying to find ways to win rather than bottom out. It's just I see it being very difficult. But you never know. It's the Western Conference. You never know what's going to happen and how once the team you get a better mix and better balance. One thing that was the problem with the Suns is their roster just was imbalanced. It was very imbalanced. You find better balance through the trade. You just never know what the future could hold for you there. So we'll see. We'll be here to cover it if anything does go down. Next up, we're going to talk about the drama surrounding Ace Bailey before he even gets into the NBA. First, we got to get to a message from Wayfair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you are wanting to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for the summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. Conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard the resort feel without the resort price tag. I'm in the middle of giving my front porch a refresh. My style leans more modern, so I love being able to filter and find exactly what may fit my space and my budget. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Or Locked On Game Night coming up next. All right, before we get up out of here, last topic of the day, Swipa, Ace Bailey, man. This has been such an interesting thing to watch, right? Like Ace Bailey, somebody who throughout the whole season was expected to go top 3, maybe top 4 at worst, refusing to work out for teams. There's been some talk that maybe he's getting some bad advice from the people around him. He's refusing to do workouts. He reportedly wants to be guaranteed a starting spot and an opportunity to turn into a star. I actually do the daily Locked On with Matt Moore, and Matt had mentioned that he's heard some rumblings that Ace Bailey could fall maybe as low as 8, maybe lower if a team doesn't trade up for him if he makes it past 4. What do you make of all this Ace Bailey drama? Do you think this is him, just a player that's trying to make sure that trying to get the best for his future, or do you think this is a little bit misguided in how he's handling this whole situation?
Look, I mean, I think when you're 18 years old, you're trying to navigate life and navigate your money, navigate contracts, navigate the pros, this professional environment. And one of the things that people don't give athletes enough credit for because they just look at the money and they're like, oh, you're just playing sports. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to allow for your entire future to be dictated by someone else, like a lottery. There's someone else out here that's telling you where you're going to end up, where you're going to go. We don't do anything. We don't do that anywhere else. You chose to work for Locked On Bulls. You chose to do all the stuff you do for the Bulls. You chose to be a content creator. So did I. I think for athletes, they want more power in what they're doing. And so I think for him, he wants a situation where he feels like that's going to be stable and a situation that allows for him to grow and prosper. And they're not going to put him through the ringer for no reason. They're going to give him a chance to run, and they have a competent staff, competent ownership. They have other players around him that can fit the role, do their jobs, and he can show up every day and go to work and know that he's in the best position possible. We all ask for the same thing day to day. So I don't know what it is that he's hearing and if that's somehow helping him or causing him to make bad decisions or bad choices with telling people he's not going to work out for them, not going to show up for them, not going to do this and that. So I think it can be a mix of things. I think it's a mix of age. I think it's a mix of the fact he could be getting bad advice, but I don't know. I do know that he's 18. He's extremely talented, like uber talented player. You don't find Ace Baileys just growing off of trees. And to that, I think a lot of this stuff with Ace is he definitely has holes in his game that he needs to develop. He's still very raw in some ways, but I do think this is clearly like a player that would benefit almost any situation, and he's a player that can win off the dribble, a player that can get down, a player that can get to a spot, a player that can hit you a shot. He has credible potential, like Brandon Miller-esque possible potential. So I think if you do allow him to fall, then there's a couple of teams out there that could literally get a steal, especially you're talking about getting him around 7 or 8. Like if he fell to Washington and now you got Bilal and Bailey and Alexander Sarr building for the future, they're cooking. So I do think his future is very bright. It just depends on him, how much work he's going to put in. And now at this point, he's going to have to prove doubters wrong. Because if doubters are saying you're full of yourself, that you don't know what you're doing, that you're immature, that you're not worth the investment with the headache, hey, guess what? Fine. You can go out there, you can prove everybody wrong and go out there and try to get rookie of the year, wherever you are. So I hope the best for him. But Haize, for me, more so, I just feel that this process and drafting and being selected somewhere, it's a lot more difficult than people realize. And so I think that this is just something everyone has to come to terms with how they want to do that. And then when you break the line, like Ace Bailey is, you start to get a lot of bad rep attached to your name.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing what he's bucking trends, and I think that we need to realize that with NIL deals being something that players look at when they decide to go to college, that's already exposing players to more so of the business aspect of it. So there are going to be players that come into the league with a more business mind, trying to look and maneuver things to their favor. Now, I don't necessarily say that Ace Bailey's handling this the right way, but I do understand kind of the thought process behind this. Like the NBA is a place that if you get drafted by the wrong team, you're talking about with the restricted free agency and everything, you're talking about you could be there 5, 6, 7 years before you really get an opportunity to decide where you want to play. That's a large part of somebody's future to 18, 19, 20 years old to lock yourself into. So I understand that part of it. Like, you want to make sure that you're going to a situation you feel very, very comfortable in. The thing that causes me concern is that not only is the working out, but also reportedly he hasn't interviewed the best. But then again, at 18 years old, I probably sucked at my job interviews too, to be 100% honest with you, looking back at it. So it's just a unique and delicate situation. But I think the overall thing here needs to be that he's talented. That's the thing. He's really, really talented. It'd be different if somebody did this, that questionable talent, questionable upside. Still, throughout all of this, not many people are questioning the talent of Ace Bailey as if they want to deal with the perceived headache. And so because of that, it's like, I just hope that he, wherever he ends up going, however this ends up shaking out, once this is done and over with and he's drafted, that he goes to a place with a good culture where he can focus on his craft, his sport, and be the best player that he can be. That's the only thing that we can hope of all of this. He's going to make the decision that's best for him. Team's going to make the decision that's best for them, whether that's avoiding him or drafting him. But if he falls, somebody's going to get a heck of a talented player much lower than what he should have went. And I hope that they are ready to put him in the best situation possible. And that's all I can say for that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have nothing but positive thoughts and words about him. I hope that he finds a place in his career where he can be happy. And again, man, like you're 18, like, this is your dream. You want to make the NBA. You want to play good basketball. And we've seen around the league, hey, if you're not drafted into the right situation, it really doesn't matter how good you are. The team, if they're improperly built, if the front office is incompetent, if the ownership is incompetent, there's nothing you can do about that. Now, that's the problem is we're not allowed, we are, because we work in this business on this side, players aren't allowed to say the front office is incompetent. Players aren't allowed to say in the draft process, the front office that wants to draft me, it's incompetent. But we already know those things, so players are somehow, they're in the wrong if they acknowledge these things, because there's supposed to be this line that exists between them and between the people in the suits. And the people in the suits, no matter what they do, you always have to show them a level of credence of respect for doing their job. And I'm just saying to you, I'm like, well, no, that's just not how, that's not an equal system. So I definitely think that, he could have handled this better. I can't speak to the interviewing stuff just because they said that George Sanders had horrible interviews as well.
That's true.
But I don't know what that looks like. Like, I wasn't there. I'm not privy to it. Haven't heard anything come out of it. Haven't heard about his responses or reactions. But look, if that's the case, then that's the case. And hopefully he continues to get better at doing that. Maybe by the time he gets 21. But guess what? There's four years away from being 21. and then you can deal with that at that point. So overall, I think he's immensely talented, and I hope he has a very, very bright, successful future.
Same, and that's all we can hope for him. And yeah, we'll be here to cover it on the draft and everything. We'll actually be back. We're back the day, a couple days after the draft, so we'll get to talk about it and break everything down and happen in the draft.
Who the Bulls taking, you think?
I hope for Thomas Sorber. That's my hope for the Bulls. Okay. Yeah. Do the Nuggets have a pick in this draft?
No.
Not at all? Not even a second round pick? No. Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks.
no, they might move into the draft, but no GM right now to make that move. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's crazy not having a GM this close to the draft. But we will be here to cover everything as we are every single Friday. Thanks for swiping. Make sure you guys go check him out over at Locked On Nuggets, where he's one of the hosts over there doing a great job each and every day. You guys can check me out over at Locked On Bulls. We will be back Friday. Locked On Game Night is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV, and more. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Not tomorrow. We'll see you guys on Friday. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.